Today is March the 14th, and we're here once again, as we always are, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. World of Women podcast with Zita's Healthy Beginnings. My name is Sister Zita, the host, and this evening I have a wonderful friend who will be joining us and sharing all she's been doing and how she's been impacting the world through her mission, through her business. And we are always grateful for the opportunity that we get in this platform, which is the World of Ability podcast in collaboration with Transform You Network and Park. We are so thankful for their graciousness and opportunity to really reach our audience out there. So I am really inviting Grace Strachan to join us and share with us all she has. And I'm so glad and thrilled that she's here with us. So let's just sit back and listen to her. Over to you, Grace.
Thank you so much, Zita. I really appreciate being asked, especially this month, because it's Women's Month. So it's a very special month for all women. You know, I always think that I was born blessed because I was born a woman. So I always figured that that's a blessing. A little bit of background on me is I was born in Canada and raised by a single mom. My mother raised 4 children completely on her own until I was 14. Then we were blessed and my mother remarried and I ended up getting a bonus dad, 2 bonus brothers, and a bonus sister. So we ended up with 7 children. Not all of them lived at home at once. You know, because I was 14, I was the second youngest. A lot of them had already left home, but ended up being totally blessed because now, even though I was never blessed to have any children, I can say that I have 14 nieces and nephews. And I have, at one time, somebody asked me when I had one of my great nieces named after me, how many greats do you have? And I said, I don't know, I've never counted. So I decided to count. So as of this year, I will have 21 great nieces and nephews. So I have tons of children whenever I need them up in Canada. So I guess I never really needed to have children because I'm surrounded by them. I moved down to the United States 30 years ago. My husband transferred us down here. And my background was interior design, but I never really enjoyed it because I sat behind a desk. I love people. And so I decided to go out and sell to people. And when he moved us down here, I realized that I lived in the center of the United States, so not really a good area for interior design, selling to interior designers, which is what I ended up doing. And so I happened to have a mother that taught me that you always needed to show gratitude for everything. So 11 years ago, I was introduced to something that blew my head off. It really blew my head off. Because when I was a child, my mom sat with me while I wrote out my thank you cards. Because she really believed that if you didn't say thank you or show gratitude for something, you really should have to give it back. Well, guess what? I really wanted to keep my mom happy and I wasn't giving back anything. So I wrote my thank you cards all the time. But I got introduced to something that was easy for me because I could do my thank you cards instead of writing them out. I could do them on a computer. So I immediately signed up, kept my full-time job, and started using send out cards, which is what I do. And you know what? I increased all my business. And guess why? Nobody says thank you anymore. And the women that I was dealing with were all very creative. And a lot of them interior designers, or they were engineers, or some of them were purchasing agents, and all of them very in the creative field. But the one thing they were not getting from anybody was appreciation. So I went out of my way. I had so much fun, because what I would do is I'd send them birthday cards, and I would send them before and after cards of jobs that I could see, or I would get pictures of the jobs and put them on thank you cards. The one thing that I did that I never realized made such a difference was on LinkedIn, you get all this information of people that have had anniversaries of employment. Most employees don't even get a thank you from their employer. So I went out of my way to send happy anniversary cards. And let me tell you, I became a star with women. The men, not so much, but the women absolutely loved it. So I knew it was something that I could do forever. Well, 5 years ago, my husband passed away. And we had talked about moving back to Canada. We had talked about quite a few things. And I realized that I didn't really want to work for anybody anymore. I really wanted to take my passion of putting smiles on people's faces, making them feel great, and doing that as a full-time job. So that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years since my husband passed away. But the biggest thing that I've done since I gave up my full-time job and made this a full-time job was I started acting on promptings. And what a prompting is whatever your belief is it's a inner voice. It's a God tap. When somebody comes to your mind, you're sitting there one day and all of a sudden somebody goes, you go, why did I think of that person? I haven't thought of that person in like 5 years. That's a God tap. That is your inner voice saying that you need to reach out to them or they need to hear from you. So every morning, that's what I do. I sit down, I have my coffee, I have my water, and I just let my mind go and I meditate. Whoever comes to my mind gets a card. And what that does is it's raising the energy in the world. It's raising the vibration more than anything, and it's making people feel wonderful. Now, why is that important? Because putting a smile on people's face, making people feel happy is what the world needs right now. More than anything, the world needs it. And so I get to do it. So that's kind of what I do for a living. And then another thing that I started doing 5 years ago and didn't really do anything with it until just recently. But when my husband passed away, in my mind and in my ear was my mother's voice. Now, my mom had passed away quite a few years before, but she had taught me some profound motherisms. And if it hadn't been for my mother and my motherisms, that she literally, I could hear in my ear, I would not have gotten through my husband's sudden passing. Because he literally got sick and within 14 days he was gone. And we had been married 43 years. So it was very, very difficult. But my mother, literally all this stuff kept going through my mind. And I'm going to give you one of her motherisms because I think most women need to hear this. And the one that got me through more than anything was when someone you love, someone you care about, someone that means a lot to you, says or does something maybe not so nice, walk away. You do not know where their mind or their heart was at that moment. When it's someone you don't know very well, maybe you just met, they're maybe an acquaintance, and they say or do something maybe not so nice, walk away. They're not worth your time anyway. And because of that, I really did get through, and there were other ones, of course, there's lots of my motherisms that really got me through it. But I realized that at that time I needed to write a tribute to my mother. My mom was gone, my husband was gone, and I thought, you know what, now is the time to write a tribute. And I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I thought about it and I thought about it. Yes, I'm going to write it. And I wrote down some motherisms. I didn't really do anything with it until one day I met a woman. I'm on a Zoom call like this. And we're having a one-on-one. We've never met before. And we're kind of, seeing how each other can help each other for work, whatever. And of course, I said, I'm thinking about writing a book on motherisms, which I'd been thinking about for 5 years. And she reacted. Her whole demeanor changed. Now, another one of my mother's motherisms was, if somebody reacts to something you say, be quiet. And that's exactly what I did. I sat, which seemed like forever, but I'm sure it was like a minute or two, while she composed herself. And I said absolutely nothing. And this woman said to me, well, you don't know me, we've just met. And of course, you wouldn't know that I'm actually estranged from my mother. And I haven't really spoken to her in 4 or 5 years. And again, I just sat there. I said absolutely nothing because I knew she needed time to regroup. And then I call it the miracle happened. All of a sudden, her whole demeanor changed again. And she got this beautiful glow and this big smile on her face. And she said, but thank you. And I went, you're welcome. And she said, you just reminded me of a couple things my mother said to me that I've always lived by. Now I get goosebumps just thinking about that conversation. We proceeded to go on with our one-on-one and we talked about business and everything. And I got off that call and I cried for half an hour. I could barely compose myself. My first reaction was, I would give anything just to hear my mother's voice again. And to be estranged from your mother, I couldn't identify with it. But then the thing that brought me back out of the tears was it was tears of joy because I saw how that woman changed. That I reminded her of a motherism that her mother had taught her that actually made a difference in her life. So then I decided, okay, the book is about my mother. The book is a tribute to my mother, but it's about mothers. So now what I'm doing is I'm interviewing people. I mean, somebody said to me, are you just doing women? No, I'm doing people because I hate to tell you, but men have women, mothers too. So I'm interviewing people for my book and I'm getting their motherism. And then I've got a series of questions that I asked to get the story behind the motherism, how it affected them, how it affected their life. And it's been in positive as well as negative. And then I'm transcribing their stories into a collection in a book. So I realized that one conversation with that one woman really opened my mind to the fact that if I can get one woman to react the way that woman reacted when she thought of her motherism by reading my book, my heart is happy.
Powerful. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how our lives are being touched by the people that raise us. That has always touched me in a special way, especially as I accompany young women having babies and raising babies. And I'm like, I think about my own experience with my mother and my parents, actually, and especially my mom. And I'm like, okay, these women might not understand, the impact they are having on these kids right now. But let's say in the next 20 years, you look back and you say, oh my goodness, I'm glad I did this, or I'm sorry I didn't do that. And I talk to them, and some of them listen, others are really still figuring it out. And I'm like, at some point, I think I was in their shoes too, like not really getting it, not
Yeah.
really getting it. And my mom trying to really teach me how to be a woman. And I don't think I really understood what she meant, But years down the road, I'm beginning to say, oh my goodness, I'm glad, I'm proud of my mother, the courage, the resilience, the faith, and everything else. But that's something to be thankful for,
Yes.
and I'm glad that someone like you you have that value, and you want to, pay it forward, because not every woman that, or even a man that receives such a significant value would like to, pay it forward like you're doing. I also understand that we're all gifted differently. We're all gifted differently. And I was, when you were saying that you were an interior decorator, and I'm like looking at you, I'm like, you don't look like somebody who can do that job. That you look like a people person. So I don't see you really doing the other job. But you know, sometimes God will put us where, put us in a place where we can suddenly recognize our gifts and run with it. And so I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you're able to recognize actually what it is that God has entrusted to your heart to share with the world. And that is really what you're doing. Talking about gratitude, honestly, that is really disappearing in our world today. Our society is suffering a lot due to lack of gratitude. Yet, it doesn't take anything from anybody to show gratitude. In fact, it gives us a lot when we do that. I remember myself sometimes when I stop and say, oh, thank you so much, or even say to somebody, I'm sorry. Those words really, they're very little, but they have such a significant impact in the other person or even ourselves. And I was gonna ask you, in your experience of doing this work of gratitude and all that, what have you found so difficult that people have shared why it's hard for people to really show gratitude in today's world?
I found, it's interesting that you asked that question because I just had a conversation with somebody today about this. Um, I used to think that gratitude came from your heart. You could not teach gratitude. Either you have it or you don't. I don't believe that anymore. I really believe that gratitude has become almost not, people think it's not needed anymore. People assume that they know that they're thankful. You don't have to say thank you anymore. And so when you do say thank you and you get a reaction, you go, whoa. And so businesses that I've talked to have said, well, yeah, but I send them a text or I send them an email, or I send them, whatever. And I say, yes, as long as you're saying thank you, that's fabulous. But if they're not getting it, how do you know that they even know you've said thank you? Good point. And so I think what's happened is, as a society, we've been so quick. Everything is fast. Everything is, quick and dirty, in and out, done. And so we forget the little things. Saying excuse me to somebody. I mean, I have people that bang by me and I will say out loud, excuse me. And they'll turn around and literally, I don't say it as an insult, I say it in a very nice way, but they'll turn around and you can see the light bulb goes off because they haven't, I don't know if they're not being taught it. I don't know. I don't have children, so I can't say it that they're not being taught gratitude or being thankful or politeness or etiquette. I don't know anymore. But I think as a society, we've just become so fast and quick and that you forget about the people. I always say to a business, this is how I'll start with a business. I'll say, you know what? We spend our entire lives going out and networking. We go out and we're meeting new people all the time to build our business. And guess what? We totally forget about the people that got us there. And they go, what? And I go, you go out and you try to, increase your business. Have you ever thought of just showing gratitude to the people that have already come to you to do business? Because, Cody Bateman, who owns Send Out Cards, wrote a book. This is how he started the company, on promptings. And this says, promptings, your inner guide to making a difference. And he also wrote another book called The Power of the Human Connection. And in The Power of the Human Connection, he says that you should never ask a customer for a referral. Now, when I have people read that or say that, they go, what? And because the belief is, if you're doing your job right, you're top of mind, you're doing your job right, the person feels appreciated, that reference or that referral should come automatically. So if we think that way in our minds, that if you give to give, the universe gives back tenfold. If you give to get, it gets taken away. So instead of thinking about what you're going to get, think about how you can give. Because when you give, it all comes back. So if you say thank you to somebody, it's like, when you're walking down the street. If somebody looks like they're in a bad mood and you smile at them, what happens? They smile back. It's no different with gratitude. If you show gratitude, the person shows gratitude back. Or guess what? They may show it to the next person, who may show it to the next person. And that's why I said it raises the energy, it raises the vibration in the world. It makes people
I mean, and that's like you said at the start, that is what our world needs right now. We really need that environment that is welcoming, environment that shows gratitude. Because it's only gratitude that can really help the other person to see life differently, to know that okay, I'm meeting this person, I'm not only meeting this person, but I'm meeting God through this person. I'm meeting the higher power through this person. And then you never know, showing gratitude. You never know who you're showing gratitude to. How far that can really lead you. I have always had experiences where at the end of the day, I say to myself, wow, it was just only hi that I say to this person. And this is, at the end of the day, this is the whole connection, that whole just small 5-15 minutes talk has opened the whole, new way of relationship, both with
yes.
that person and to other people. It's amazing whenever that happens, and yet it's something that we find difficult to do. And I must say that, and I'm sorry to say that our younger generation is really a challenge. And I say that because I've worked and I'm still working with a lot of them, men and women alike, and the kids, their kids, even I don't know how to classify that, but you don't give what you don't have. You
Mhm.
know, and if you don't give what you don't have, if, for example, we're talking about gratitude, you don't even show gratitude to your kids when they do something little, you know, you
Mhm.
don't appreciate them, then what do you expect of those kids? You know, they have that whole thing of entitlement. You, no matter what you do for them, they're not grateful. And each time I walk with these kids, and I'm like asking myself, what's going to happen in the next 10, 15 years if this is how we're raising kids? You know, if this is how we're treating one another. Yes, you go to the grocery store, you see people purchasing stuff, and sometimes to listen over the conversation, people are so angry. You know, you hardly hear somebody say, "Oh, thank you so much. Have a blessed day." You hear that once in a while. And I'm like, why are we really like that? Is it the inflation? Is it what is it? You know, is it just the environment? And what can we do actually right now that we are all in this on how what is the word I'm looking for, this environment that is not really habitable, put it that way, in terms of not showing gratitude. What can we say, how can we really live in a better way with one another, with our
Right.
families, with our communities? I would like you to, you know, speak to that too.
Well, I think if everybody showed gratitude a little at a time, I don't think you're never going to change society completely. I believe that my book is going to change one thing, and that's going to bring back those motherisms that people know them. I've been interviewing people for my book, and I'll say, "Who have you shared this with?" And they'll, "Oh, actually, you're the first person I've shared it with." And I'll say, "Maybe you need to share it with your children. Maybe you need to share it with others." If we can all start by sharing, we can make the world a better place. I'm going to give you an example. One of the reasons I start my day in gratitude, where I send a card to someone, is one thing I realized very, very soon, as soon as I started doing it, was that when you're in a state of gratitude, it's hard to be in a bad mood. One morning, I was in St. Louis traveling, and I got up, I'm in my hotel room, I did my card of gratitude, got ready to go to my first appointment. My appointment was maybe not even 10 blocks from where my hotel room was. Okay. So I didn't have far to go. And I literally pulled out of the driveway and somebody cut me off. And I just about hit my front of my car. And I went, oh. And it startled me. So then I got into the parking lot, made my right hand turn, and somebody went through a red light, just about hit me. I went, oh. Again, startled. And I got up to the corner to make my left hand turn, and I decided the light turned yellow. I don't think I should make my left. And I had a guy behind me just screaming on his horn. Okay. So I made my left turn, and the next right was the parking lot I was going to. And I pulled into the parking lot, and I pulled up and realized I was 10 minutes early because I was only like 2 minutes away, right? And so I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I'm regrouping in my mind what has just happened. And I started laughing. And I literally started laughing. Now, I don't know for sure, but if I hadn't started my day in gratitude, would I have been on the horn? Would I have been angry? I don't know. But I'm telling you, it was hilarious to me because I thought, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not bitter about this. And I literally started laughing. Well, I got into the office where I was going, not realizing that I had parked like right in front of where the receptionist is, right? And I got in there with my stuff, and she said to me, "Okay, Grace, was it something on the radio or what? You need to share the joke." So I got her laughing. And I thought to myself, you know what? It is contagious. So everybody started their day in gratitude. And I'm not saying, I mean, I send a card to somebody, I get on Facebook, and every time it's whoever comes to my mind, 90% of the time, I find something on Facebook that they posted that I wouldn't even have seen if I hadn't thought of them, right? Because, the algorithms are so weird. So then I pull a picture, put it on the card, and send it. Don't even think about it. I just send, away we go. And I think to myself, you don't have to send a card, right? Maybe you write something in a gratitude journal. Maybe you stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you. So great to see you this morning. You know, something to get your mood up. But when you reach out to other people, it also comes back and makes you a better person.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
What you just said now reminded me of a lady that I knew when I was a student nurse
Mhm.
years ago. This lady works in the, because our hospital has a whole section of the maternity where women have babies, and then there's a section for nurses. So this lady walks through our block, the nursing block, to go down to the maternity floor. And
Yeah.
each morning, literally every single morning, Monday through Friday, this lady will be singing. Honestly, at some point, I get tired watching her. I'm like, why is she so, so um, grateful, so full of life, early in the morning. Every single morning, she never missed it. So
Wow.
at some point, I'm like, oh my goodness, what is in this lady? So one day, she and I were talking. So I said to her, one thing I like about you, you're always so happy. She said, yeah, I don't have any other thing except to be happy. And I know that if I start happy, I'm going to end happy. But if I'm all, grudgy and all that, that's all I'm going to see in that whole, day. Therefore, I choose to be happy. And I'm like, I need that energy because early in the morning when I see you some days, I'm like, why? Where does she get her energy? Yet there are people like that. There are people like that who are full of energy, full of positive energy for that matter. And then they're spreading it around, making other people be like them or emulate them and all that. And that's really something we all need in this day and age. We really need it. In any way we can spread that around, um, let's just do it because
Oh,
it is
yeah.
very important. Yeah, it is
Yep.
for ourselves, and even research has proven that most of the sicknesses that men and women are suffering are coming from the lack of gratitude. And it's mind blowing, yet it is true. That if we don't show gratitude to ourselves, to other people, our bodies feel it, our spirit feels it, and then what happens, all kinds of illnesses will start to manifest. When you see people who also struggle with all kinds of chronic illnesses, and I know that from my experience as a healthcare provider. You see people who are really chronically ill, but they have smile on their faces. You're like, oh my goodness, how that whole thing brightens their life, and they're like, they live differently. Some of them live full life better than those who are really who don't have any physical ailments. So that shows the power of gratitude. And I'm so glad that you're sharing that with us today. Would you be able to share with us one of the, I know you've shared a lot about, gratitude and how that has impacted other people, but would you share one experience where you shared gratitude with someone, and that they came back to you in such a way that marveled you? I know the other woman you shared about, that you cried after, that whole encounter. Is there any other situation you want to share with us that really made an impact also in your life?
Actually, yes. Something happened to me, and it's quite a few years ago now. Like I said, I was sitting in, you know, in my morning of gratitude, and an ex-boss of mine came to my mind, and I thought, oh, why did he come to my mind? But I don't question, right? So and of course he's not on Facebook, so I just wrote him up. And what I decided to do, and I don't even remember what I wrote, but I wrote that I had never told him how much I appreciated him being my boss. And he was my mentor and my boss, probably one of the best bosses I ever had. And I mailed it. And a lot of the time you don't even think of what you put in it, you know, because you just do it from your heart and away it goes. 2 weeks later, I'm in St. Louis and I'm driving down the road, and I'm hands free and my phone rings. And I said, "This is Grace." And I hear, "This is Tom," this beautiful Southern Dallas accent. And I went, "Oh, Tom." And I totally forgotten I'd sent him the card, right? And I went, "Tom, it's so great to hear from you. How are you doing?" He said, "Hello, Gracious." That's what he called me. That was his nickname. He said, "Hello, Gracious. I'm doing great now that I'm talking to you." And then he informs me that he had been away visiting, him and his wife had been away visiting their daughters in Virginia, and they had just gotten back. And their other daughter that lives next to them in Dallas brought their mail. And Joe, his wife, said, "Oh, there's a card here from Grace." And Tom said, "I hope it's not bad news." Now, my heart literally went up into my mouth. I pulled over into a parking lot because I couldn't drive anymore. That hit me so hard. So then he said, so anyway, we sat down and opened up your card. He said, "Thank you. You totally made my day." He said, "We both cried." And he said, "And I think the world of you too." And he went on and on. Now, two things happened that day. I felt blessed that I had sent it to him and I had finally told him how much I cared about him. Because we don't do that enough. But the one thing that sat in my head was that he thought that that card was bad news. And I literally that day said to myself, never, ever, ever will I be the person that they only hear from me when it's bad news.
Right, right. Wow.
That hit me harder than anything I've ever done in my life. Yeah. Yeah. But you also know that that card worked for him.
Yes.
You know, but still, you know. And then the other story I always like telling is I had a girlfriend one time that again, a friend of mine, and didn't know why she came to me, but she did. And I sent her a card, and all I said in the card, and I remember what I said, and that was, you cannot be everything to everyone. You need to be you, what you are to you. That's all I said. And I sent it. And I don't know why I said it, but I said it. And this is when my husband was still alive, and we had date night on Friday nights. So we went out for dinner, and I looked down at my phone and I said, "Oh, my girlfriend was calling." And I said, he goes, "Well, answer." I said, "No, I'll get it after the meal." And so we got home and I listened to my voice messages, and I had to replay it 3 times. She's in tears, crying and crying and crying. What had happened was she had a bad week, and everything had gone wrong. Her husband and her weren't getting along, the kids, just a bad week. And they were supposed to be going camping that weekend. And it was Friday, and she had it. I'm not, I'm going to cancel the weekend. I've had it. Well, she had a prompting to walk out to the mailbox. And she walked out to the mailbox, walked back, saw a card for me. It was the only thing in the mailbox, sat down and read it. And then she called me. And she said, "I had one of the worst days of my life, but thank you for the card." Anyway, I found out that they had gone away for the week. She went in, put my card up, went and packed, and they had one of the best weekends they'd ever had. Because she realized it had nothing to do with what she was doing. It was just the way life was for that week.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Another one of my favorites.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, people need to hear that. We really need to hear this, how you can change someone's life like that.
Yeah.
Just with a simple card, few words, and that's it. Wow.
But
Emily,
just think how businesses would think if they just got it, that I bought something from you and then I sent you a thank you card. I think I froze.
I don't even know what it's me. Emily, what's going on?
Oh, I think we just froze for a second.
Yeah, I think it's your connection, Zeta.
Yeah.
But
What's the connection?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay now.
You have, yeah.
But I was just thinking that you never know the you may never know the effect you have on somebody else.
Right. Yeah. My Maya Angelou's my favorite saying is, people forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So true. So true.
Yeah. And always watch what you're saying to people, because you do not know. And that's my mother's motherism is so important. You do not know where their mind or heart is at that moment. So be kind always.
Yeah, you don't know how it would come back to you either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like I froze. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
I
can
hear you. Uh-huh.
Okay. For some reason, I think it's froze. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. What you just shared, Grace, makes a whole lot of sense, and I hope that our audience will really take this to heart and know that this is absolutely necessary. That we cultivate that attitude of gratitude. Um, Someone say that they say attitude of gratitude will increase your outward. I don't know how they put that here.
Yeah, it's true though. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really helpful. It is very, very helpful. Every time I have practiced that, I have found it very rewarding. And I like to continue to do that and continue to encourage other people to do the same, because it's really healthy, very, very healthy. The one thing I know I'm guilty of is even when I get cards from my friends, I don't even find time to say thank you, like to respond uh, through card. I may write email or text, but I think just as I value a card, I'm sure someone else does the same. So finding time to really sit down to write a word or two to someone, it's worth it. It's worth it, and I'm trying to learn how to do that. And I also noticed that we have found ourselves in this tight, busy, fast-paced society that is not giving anybody opportunity to stop and smell the roses. And we're all losing a lot. I don't know where we're all rushing to, but we're all rushing. I don't know if you don't want to rush, people push you to do that. So
that's true.
So
I mean, there's only so many hours in a day, and I hate to tell
Exactly.
people, but guess what? There's only so many hours in a day.
Right. So it's it's tough, but it's something we all need to learn and continue to get better at.
Yes.
Continue to get better at. So I am so glad that you're here with us and talking about this. So now, how will our audience find you? Do you have, can you put your information on the chart for us?
I can put it in the chat for you if you'd like.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. I think I've got it. No, I don't. Hold on.
Emily, something is going on with my camera. It's not, I don't know what it is, but
Okay. I just put what I normally do for HMP. I have it all pre-done.
okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also the information if anybody would like to be interviewed for my book.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. All right. So Emily, do you have any questions for Grace or anybody else? A comment?
So here I'm on mute. Do you have like a number of people you're going to interview, like a set number that you get to before you want the book to be done?
I'm aiming for, I got a number that I'm aiming for. And, but I decided about 2 weeks ago that aiming for a number is not what I want. What I want is the exact people in my book. So right now, I'm going to say that I'm going to be doing interviews for the next 30 days, and then that's it. I'm done.
Oh, okay. How many people have you gotten so far?
I've got 35.
Well, 35. That's quite a few already. Yeah. I know you've been doing it a little bit. It doesn't seem too long that you've been doing it. So
no, I haven't been doing it that long. But I actually have, and what's exciting is I have not had a repeat. They've all been their own uniqueness.
Good. Wow. Isn't that interesting?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It would be interesting. I like to read your book when it's available. It would be interesting to read, different perspectives people have. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to have an area in the book for journaling so that people can add their own.
Right.
Because I think you're going to find that people recognize the motherism, but it's going to be fun for them to write their own story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's I have met some people who have really shared what gratitude did to their life and or even their family, how that impacted or changed their life. And that goes a long way to also emphasize the importance of showing gratitude, or being a source of gratitude, to somebody or to the world. I know that like you shared about somebody getting reacting to what the statement you made. Sometimes I think showing gratitude is a way to neutralize all the negativism that is going on in our world today. So if we all can, make it a point of duty to show gratitude, I think most of the challenges we all navigate every day will be at a minimum. And I think that is also what your message is about, that we start to show gratitude, make it a daily, thing to do, and make sure that, we recognize that this is impactful, and do it intentionally. Do it intentionally. So thank you so much for coming. Do you have a podcast, or have you attended other people's podcasts in the past?
I've never had a podcast. I've been interviewed on a few podcasts, but I've never had my own.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you might consider in the future, because with all that you have and all that you have achieved plus this book, it might be, gratitude podcast. So, and that
I
would
have
be,
actually thought about it.
yeah, that's awesome, because I mean, if people can recognize you for what you do, why not? Why not do a podcast? And I would like to come to your podcast too.
Thank you.
So
I would love to have you.
thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
before we leave, though, I
Mhm.
hope you know that I'm not letting you two get away without sharing your best mailing address and your birthday. Because guess what, guys? I send cards.
Oh.
Oh no.
I couldn't resist. But guess what? You're going to get thank you cards. So you've got to share your best mailing address and your
Sure.
birthday with me.
Sure, that's why I said you share your information. For sure, I'm gonna send you my birthday. My birthday is coming up. It's May 22nd, so
Woohoo!
it's coming up. And I love to get cards. So
I do too. And guess what? My birthday's coming up too. You're a good Gemini, aren't you?
Oh yes, I am. How about
So
you?
am I. I'm a dead center Gemini. I'm June 12th. So I'm like right, I'm
Oh,
a
yeah. I'm really at the edge. Well, I
yeah.
just stepped into Gemini.
You've got a
Wow.
little bit of the Taurus in you as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
my birthday's coming up in like a couple weeks.
No way.
Yeah.
Emily, are you kidding me?
April 4th.
Yeah,
Wow.
Emily's April.
April.
So I'm Aries.
I love it. You know what's
Yeah.
funny when you say April 4th? On April Fool's Day, April 1st, is going to be my anniversary of working in the United States.
Oh boy.
Really?
Now is that? Are you sure about that, or are you putting a proposed joke on
April
us?
Fool's Day.
You started working on an April Fool Day?
And it was funny. The first job I got when I moved down here, I started on April Fool's Day, and the owner of the company, it was his birthday.
Oh, wow.
Well, at least you did it on a day that you'll always remember. So.
Oh, that's so awesome. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
funny, isn't it? So April
Yes.
4th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Lovely.
April 4th. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace. It's
Yeah,
been
thank you,
really
guys.
great to have you. And
This has been fabulous.
yes, and talk about gratitude. I'm so grateful for you having the time now, making out the time to come share with us and lightening up our evening. I am so thankful, and I know for our audience, they will find that very delightful. Thank you so much. And I hope
I want to thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have you again soon. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of your book when that is ready. Because
Yes,
I
I will
know
let you
it's
know.
gonna, yeah, sure. Thank you so much. And have a beautiful rest of your evening. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Emily.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Emily, I don't know what happened to my screen. It's not show. It got stuck.
We're already ending the recording.
Recording stopped.
There we go. It might be a glitch thing.
Like it still froze right now. You can't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, logging and like it might help with that. I'm not sure. But that I don't know if that would necessarily be probably necessary unless if you have other stuff you want to talk about right now. But
Okay.
I thought that was a good show.
Yes, it was. It was a show. I like it. It was a good show. I think I've seen Grace in the past, but I didn't know she has such a wonderful business.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll forward the link and you can share with her when it's ready.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.